It makes for good Sunday school. It makes for a good youth lesson. Makes for a good teen lesson, men's meeting, ladies' meeting, a good preaching service. You could preach all around that prodigal son story, and most times what you will have seen visited, it focuses on that boy that left. Now here's the overview in case you need a reminder. In Luke chapter 15, the story picks up round about verse 12 or so, maybe well, let's just say verse 11, because it starts off like there. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons. But here's the story. The one son, he's the younger son. He comes into play, and he takes his inheritance, and in a nutshell, he goes to a far country. He leaves his father, the one who he owes everything to. He leaves him. He goes into a far country, meaning away from where he should be. He wastes all of his substance. The Bible says he joins himself with the citizens of a far country, and forgetting who he belonged to, if you will, or maybe knowing who he belonged to, but choosing to join himself with others. And that joining of himself with others and the wasting of his substance, it left him in a pig pen, literally. Well, he picks up himself, he comes to himself, he realizes how far he had gotten away from where he should be, and verse 18 says, I will arise and go to my father, and say unto him, I've sinned against you, I've sinned against thee. Well, the Bible says that as the prodigal went, says the father's there, and he's watching for his son. He's looking, and he sees the son wondering if the father would take him back, and here the father's looking for him the whole time. And as he comes back to the father goes to him, and it's just a beautiful thing. And then the father, of course, rejoices, and the Bible talks about the party, as it were, that was going to be had for the son that came home, and rejoicing about that, and all that it meant for that son to come home. That's the overview of the prodigal son story. There's so much more to it, but that's not what I'm concentrating on, because the Bible begins there in verse 11. It says that the father there was 2 sons. I want to focus on that other son that the certain man had, because here's what happens. That younger son, which would be that older brother's younger brother, he comes home. But that older brother, the Bible says, he comes out of the field in verse 25. And when he sees all that's being made over his brother that comes home, instead of him rejoicing about that, he's bothered by that. He's jealous over that. Have you ever been jealous of how good God would be to another? You'll see that brother start bringing up to his father all these things that he's done that his brother hadn't done, and all the things his brother has done that he hadn't done, meaning I deserve better. You ever looked at God blessing somebody and thought that yourself? 5 is the number of death in the Bible. I know you've been perhaps told it's the number of grace. It's not. It's the number of death in the Bible, and you'll see 5 references to himself in verse 29 that the brother is using, talking to his dad about what's not fair. And in essence, you know what happens to that older brother? He loses his joy. He loses his fellowship. He loses his testimony. Why? Because he was jealous. He was resentful of that which his brother received in forgiveness. Now, all of that, his joy, his fellowship, his testimony, it could be revived again, but not unless he gave way to his unforgiving, resentful ways. I pray that you don't resemble that second brother in the story, so that us being that one that came home can be rejoiced in, and will rejoice in others when they do the same. God bless.